Thongor Fights the Pirates of Tarakus by Lynn Carter. In the early 1980s, I worked as a printer. One of my co-workers really liked heroic fiction. He was a fan of Robert E. Howard's Conan character, Edgar Rice Burroughs' John Carter of Mars, and he tried to get me interested in Lynn Carter's Thongor books. He loaned me a copy of this book. I had several false starts before I finally gave the book back to him unread. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I was determined to make it through my reading of the book this time. I made it, but it's still not a book I enjoy. A ship drifts into Patanga, but everyone aboard has become a raving lunatic. Thongor's good friend Carm Carvis has been taken captive by the Pirates of Tarakus. Their wizard Belshathla has recovered ancient technology, scientific weapons considered the product of black magic. One of these weapons sounds an awful lot like a nuclear bomb. Kashtar, the ruler of Tarakus, intends to use these weapons to conquer Patanga and usurp the throne of Thongor. We're not off to a really bad start, all things considered. But as you've probably already figured out, there are plenty of exotic names in this story. Lynn Carter even gives a pirate the name Duranga Thule, despite the fact that Duranga Thule is killed by Charn Thovis about a page and a half later. Could have just called the guy Leering Pirate or something like that, in my humble opinion. In the book, the ship full of madmen appears. Thongor's friend Carm Carvis is abducted. Thongor launches a counterattack. Thongor rides a sea serpent and maybe inflicts a mortal wound on the beast, we're not sure. Thongor is swept away and wanders through a jungle where he has to fight savage creatures, like a swarm of bat-like things thirsty for his blood. Carm Carvis escapes from a dungeon into the city of Tarakus and climbs around on rooftops before discovering Yian of Cardona, a beautiful princess who fights as well as any man. The Pirates of Tarakus launch an assault of many ships on Patanga under cover of artificially generated fog. Thongor and his warriors foil the pirates and destroy their entire navy in a very bloody battle. That's pretty much the book in a nutshell, but there are lots of descriptive passages using archaic phrases. I suppose that makes the story seem more authentic, like something that may have happened 500,000 years ago on the lost continent of Lemuria. We are never told who it is telling the story for modern readers. There is an annoying phrase in the first third of the book. I'll read it for you. Carm Carvis, with what inward horror I give my readers leave to picture for themselves, listened as mad Belshathla raved and ranted on. Okay, you've got an unidentified narrator directly addressing the reader, giving permission to imagine for yourself so he doesn't have to describe it. I guess you could call it breaking the fourth wall or maybe meta-referencing, whatever, it bothers the heck out of me. I can remember a time when, as a young reader, I would have enjoyed some of the descriptions, like this bit, where wizard Belshathla is killed. The hissing blade caught Belshathla just below the ear and sheared his head off cleanly. The wizard's head thudded to the deck and rolled away into a corner of the deck like some great grisly fruit. Black blood spewed up in a hideous fountain from the severed stump. The headless body lurched drunkenly and fell over. My 12-year-old self probably would have really dug that. Nothing creates a meaningful bonding experience like slaughtering one's enemies with the woman you love. Carm and Yian share a moment. He bent and crushed her to him, one arm closing about her slim shoulders, and he kissed her there on the corpse-strewn foredeck of the embattled galley. His lips were fierce and demanding. Her mouth was warm and soft and very sweet. I can only assume she'd had the forethought to pop a tic-tac while she was slaying pirates. Bearing in mind this story happened 500,000 years ago, I was really bothered by this passage on page 149. The air was thick with oily black smoke now. The upper works were ablaze, and smoking cinders drifted down like some grim Pompeian rain. How would an ancient writer have known to reference a volcanic eruption that would not happen for approximately 500,000 years after the actions of the novel? Maybe this stuff doesn't bother some readers. It certainly didn't bother my friend in the print shop over 40 years ago. He loved the over-the-top descriptions and often quoted them to me. My feeling is this stuff played well in Edgar Rice Burroughs' days, but by the 1980s, I think most readers had higher expectations. Still, if this story has an audience today, I say great. Good for Lynn Carter. God knows I like a lot of quirky stuff that I could never justify to others. I just irrationally am drawn to some things that other people can't appreciate. And I think it must be the case that some people really like the archaic phrases, the over-the-top descriptions, and everything that this book is about. I found the book disappointing on all levels, including the cover art by Vincent DeFeit. I apologize if I mispronounced his name. This art almost looks like a cut and paste job. Too much blue, and the tiny boat is nothing like the warships described in the story. I'm thinking this edition had an exceptionally tight budget. This is my second Lynn Carter novel, and I found it marginally better than the first one I reviewed, which was Time War, though the cover art for Time War was much more appealing. If you are really into heroic fiction, exotic names, and archaic phrasing, you may love this book. Thongor Fights the Pirates of Tarakus by Lynn Carter.